Hi, welcome to Gridiron Gurus for the Kennebec Journal and Morning Sentinel. I'm Travis Lazarzik alongside my colleague Drew Bonifant. Drew, thanks for being here.
Hey, it's always a pleasure.
And again, our guest is our first repeat guest of the season. It's Coney head coach B.L. Lippert. B.L., thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. What an honor to be the first repeat guest.
And Coach, your team's coming off a huge win over Hampton. Needed a win to stay in the playoff race. Got it. You got to be happy with how the team played. The team's got to be feeling a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, we've had a good week of practice coming off that victory for sure. A lot of energy, and we lost 4 in a row, and we tried as best we could to tell the kids, those are 4. They're 4 losses, but they're 4 reasonable losses. Those are 4 really good teams that'll all be playoff teams. So it's tough maybe to sort of keep them inspired, after 4 losses in a row. But I think we played well Friday night. We executed on offense and gave the quarterback time to throw the football and made some stops, headed into this week, the big matchup against Skowhegan, it's good to have some confidence because, it was beginning to wane a little bit. We started to play okay against Brewer, but we really put it together offensively, we thought, last week.
Yeah, you said you got a lot of time to throw when you ended up 7 touchdown passes, school record, and, did you... Not that you could see him having 7 touchdowns, but did you get a sense that he had kind of a breakout game like that in him?
Yeah, I said in the preseason that we had high expectations for him, and the offensive line is young, so there have been games where we've sort of been scrambling around, but they've done a nice job the last 2 weeks protecting him, and I think, that's been reflected in his performance. When he gets time, we get some guys that can get open, and 7 touchdowns, 8 total. He ran one in. We tried to throw a screen, but it wasn't open, so he took off and ran and dove for the pylon and scored an 8th one. So I had to contact Ben Lucas and let him know his record was already broken just a couple of years later.
How'd Ben take that?
Ben was fine. Ben's a huge Coney supporter. He's always checking in with me. Wishes us luck every Friday.
He never seemed to be a stat-driven kid.
No. He at least feigned like he was okay with it, but it probably deep down, he thought it would last a little longer. But Taylor did break it last Friday.
Big game this week with Skowhegan, probably the best 2 passing teams in the conference, if not maybe all of Class B in the state. With Yerk Taylor Heath and their Garrett McSweeney at quarterback, is it easier to prep for a team like that with their offense being so similar to yours? Your kids see a lot of passes in practice every week anyway. So
yeah, it's something our kids are accustomed to. They've got some great athletes and a quarterback that's in my opinion maybe the best in the state. He's really really talented for 2 years now, and it doesn't put the ball in danger very often. It's either sort of his guy gets it or nobody gets it. So he's been well coached in that regard. So. It's a decent matchup as far as what we're used to, but it's something we haven't really had to do, so we aren't exactly sure how we're going to perform on Friday night. Right. We've defended the pass pretty well. Taylor Heath's a good cornerback. He's had 3 or 4 interceptions, and we've got some decent guys back there, but they're a little bit untested against Brunswicks and Brewers. You kind of load the box and play action. You kind of get caught staring in the backfield, so we haven't faced a team where we're pretty confident they're going to put it in the air, 20, 30, 40 times, whatever, the game plan is. So. It's been, and that's brought a little energy to our practice this week too, because those outside linebackers that have been just playing downhill and getting blocked by kick out guards or fullbacks. Now they get to play in space and do maybe what they're more accustomed to. Something we practice all summer. It's 7-on-7. You're defending the pass just as much as you're throwing passes. So our kids are kind of like, hey, this is what we did all summer, and they're a little excited for that for sure.
Is the plan? Skowhegan scored points against everybody this year. Really, how much of it is? Let's find a way to slow them down somehow. And how much that is. All right, they're going to score the points. We just need to make sure we operate on offense at a good enough clip to be able to keep up.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We're operating sort of, you think, okay, do we sort of, lay back and sort of force them to chunk it down the field in, 5, 8, 10-yard increments, and maybe they turn it over or they don't, execute, or do you bring pressure and try to, force a turnover, get a sack, get them into the, long yardage situation? So that's something that, we've got our plan. I won't reveal what that is right now, but you got to have a plan going in, and you also got to have a backup plan in case that plan doesn't work. So we've spent some time this week, probably more so than we've had any other week, just sort of game planning, for some stuff we haven't had the opportunity or the necessity to do. So we've got a couple things we're throwing at them, but obviously we know they're talented and they've scored. So offensively, a little added pressure too that, we got to score, a higher percentage of our possessions because we know Skowhegan's got the capability to go up and down.
Yeah, McSweeney's a lot like Heath in that he takes care of the ball. I think he's only had 1 or 2 interceptions all year.
Yeah.
And he's a threat to run as well.
Yeah, he's a threat to run. He's a good athlete, and he does a really, really good job of moving in the pocket. You see the sack totals are down, and you assume that he's just never had pressure, but they get some pressure, and he just sort of drifts away. And I'm in New England, so I might as well say it's like Tom Brady. As much as that pains me to say, but he's not the quickest guy. McSweeney's pretty good, but just moving around a little bit just to buy yourself an extra half a second for a receiver to clear and get open. and he does that really well, and we're cognizant of that. That doesn't mean that we're going to have an answer for that, but we know that's the case. Our guys got to defend a little bit longer, and our pass rush is going to get there.
Okay, let's look at some of the other games in PTC this week. A big one, the Meslowski going to Brewer. Coach Lippert, two of the better running teams in the league.
Yeah, two great running attacks, two great offensive lines, both physical teams, and Meslowski probably in the same vein as Brunswick, a little maybe more athletic, getting to the edge. But Brewer can pound it at you with ISO, power, counter, and they get downhill on you. So it'll be a matchup that game will be over pretty quick. There won't be a lot of forward passes, I don't think. But two really good teams, and obviously that's huge for playoff implications. Trying to get that bye and get a week off. So Meslowski had a tough loss last Friday night, and I'm not sure, is that in Oakland or is that up at
It's at Brewer.
At Brewer. That's a tough place to play as well. So it's a tough task for them coming off a tough loss, but they're well coached and they'll be ready.
Yeah, I think there's still mathematically 8 teams still in the hunt.
Yeah.
I know Mount Blue's got a very tough road ahead of them. They'd have to beat a very good Brunswick team, which is unlikely, and then Skowhegan, and I think Hamden is still in the mix.
I think Gardner.
And Gardner this week.
Yeah, and if Gardner beat Hamden and were to beat us, I think they might get the 6th seed. So there's still a lot to play for. We haven't really sort of sat down and looked at the if we do this and that, because it's still too early.
You're worried about you.
Yeah, we just gonna take care of what we do and see what else happens.
Yeah, and Joe White, the Gardner coach, was talking about it the other day and just saying, they basically need everybody to lose. I mean, they need a lot of help, but I guess it's enough to be able to tell your players just, hey, go out and play hard, because if you win and you do your job and you kind of take care of what's in front of you, you at least open the possibility of stuff like that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has there been talk in your league, Coach, about playing a 9-game regular season and just going to 4 teams in the playoffs like the LTC?
Yeah, you know what? Not really. I think first of all, as a head coach, it feels good to be able to say we made the playoffs this year.
Sure.
6 seed. So, but I think when you get to 4 teams, if you look at it like this year, for instance, there's 4, maybe 5 teams in that hunt. So a team like us would really have, I don't want to say nothing left to play for, but it'd be kind of tough to crack the top 5. Where that 6th spot, kind of like the extra wild card in Major League Baseball, it's enough to motivate those teams that are not having as great a season, maybe not quite 500, but it keeps you in the loop. So that would be my opinion. It could be different from others. It would be nice to play everyone in the regular season, but because that creates a little bit of imbalance and why we have to go to the Crabtree. So I don't know. There hasn't been a lot of conversation about it, but probably all the head coaches like being able to say, "Oh, we made the playoffs."
One of the reasons the LTC coaches said they went to that was because they looked at what happened in the Big Ten, which was Class C North, with the coin flip for number 1 last year between Old Town and Winslow, because they didn't play each other and they had the exact same schedule and none of the tiebreakers worked. So they went to 9, saying, "Oh, this means everybody plays everybody, and the tiebreakers will all be in place." Well, there's a scenario now where they can have a coin flip anyway, where if Dexter were to lose at Mount View this weekend, which is very likely, it's a close kind of toss-up game between two very good teams, and then Dexter were to lose to Orono the following week, you could have a scene where Dexter's 6-3, Mount View's 6-3, and Bucksport's 6-3, and with MCI and Orono locking down the top 2 spots. With only 4 teams in it, those 3 6-3 teams would have to flip a coin to see who is the odd team out. And nobody wants to not make the playoffs on a coin flip.
Yeah, no, that would not be ideal. A coin flip to determine seeding where the 2 seed. I could maybe tolerate that, but not making it on a coin flip
No,
would be pretty
it'd be like that scene in Friday Night Lights, which really happened at a truck stop in Texas. They could have it at Dysarts or something, a truck stop on Friday night.
Yeah, that would be pretty intense. I'm nervous for the coin flip to begin a football game, so I can't imagine the coin flip to determine if you're in or out. That would be pretty intense.
The LTC with those 2 big games this weekend, Orono and MCI, both 6-0. Probably, for the number 1 seed, and then, like I said, on Saturday afternoon, Dexter's going to Mount View for a game with huge playoff implications.
I don't know who makes these schedules. How in the world does it happen that the 2 6-0 teams are playing each other in the same week at the 5 and 1 and 4 and 2? You get 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 playing each other.
Just lucky scheduling, I guess. Big games in Class D South this weekend, Drew.
Yeah, I mean it's a really big time for Oak Hill right now because things were really looking like they were clicking for them. They had that long winning streak. They've had the titles in a row, and then they lost 2 straight games to Winthrop Monmouth and then to Lisbon. And now there's a situation where they could be in danger of falling to 5th in that conference if they lose to Dirigo this week, and then Old Orchard Beach beats Lisbon. They're playing because then Oak Hill, Dirigo, and Lisbon, and not Lisbon, Old Orchard Beach are currently tied, and so they fall into the 5th. But that would just be a weird position for them after the run of dominance that they've had.
Right.
But you ask Coach Stacy Doucette at Oak Hill, and they're not concerned about that. They're not panicking about the loss against Lisbon, even though it wasn't that
Yeah.
It was encouraging to all the
Yeah.
points in the second half, but
They're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're an experienced team, obviously, with 3 straight state titles. I think just getting in would be good for them to, be one of the teams to beat. Nobody's going to want to play a 3-time defending state champion once you
No,
get to the
absolutely
playoffs.
not. It's a lot of experience and a lot of big games that they've won. So they're just saying, get in the playoffs, so we know how to win come November for sure.
Yeah. Big game in the Big Ten this weekend is one between 2 winless teams because everyone's going to have their eye on it because of more playoff implications with the Crabtree points. With Mount Desert Island beating Madison last week, there's a real possibility that MDI, Madison, and Winslow all finish 7-1. With the 8-game schedule, you then look to see, all right, well, who didn't each team play to kind of fill out those Crabtree points? Winslow didn't play Old Town, who's going to finish with a better record than either Waterville or John Bapst. So that puts Winslow automatically to 3rd place in this scenario. So then you look at, well, Madison didn't play John Bapst, MDI didn't play Waterville, so the Waterville win would help Madison, and a John Bapst win would help MDI. So you have these 2 0-6 teams that kind of have the fate of the playoffs. So I love stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you must
It's
have
just
to be a road scholar to figure out
Yeah,
this,
it's
this
just-
seeding.
It's interesting to see that a game where people would go, 2 0-6 teams, who cares? But it has big implications.
Yeah, absolutely. That sometimes happens with the Crabtrees because you don't play someone,
Right.
and then it matters. The whole year you check to make. So you kind of hoping the team that you didn't play loses a lot, and
Right.
sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And as coaches, we just want to focus on the stuff we can control, and that's out of our control. That'll frustrate you.
and kind of on the topic of focusing on what you can control. At this point in the season, what's the fine line between trying to coach the players as if the playoffs really aren't on the table at all, and to get them to focus on their business, and how much of it is letting them know exactly what's on the line because you want to make sure that they come out and they seize the moment and they.
Yeah, we let them know right now. Said, we're going to be on the road this week, next week at Gardner, and then if we make the playoffs, on the road throughout. So, like we've said, here it is. We practice today on the game field and said we won't be back on this field this year. And we're aware of that. And our kids, we're trying to sort of change that mindset to be have sort of a road warrior mentality. We haven't played well in our 2 road games thus far. I played well in our exhibition game, but that is what it is. So we're trying to sort of change that mindset and lay it out there and say, because you want your seniors to be aware of what's going on. This is their last crack at anything, so you want to make sure they're aware of what's going on. And so we're pretty honest with them, and I think they've responded well here in the last couple of weeks.
It's cooler on Friday nights. It's getting to be that time of year where it's always fun. BL Lippert, Coney head coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
For Drew Bonifant, I'm Travis Lazarzik from the Kennebec Journal and Morning Sentinel. Enjoy whatever games you get out to this week, and we'll see you next week on Gridiron Gurus.